Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined here by my incredible co-host, Cody Sizemore. We are excited to talk today about something that is a little bit on the personal side for Cody, not for me, but it's more of a celebratory type of topic. So that's going to be really exciting. Just wanted to welcome everybody, tell you thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing this podcast with anybody that you know who is either entering into the financial coaches realm or has already started dabbling and has maybe hit a wall and they're like, hey, I need some help with this. Where can I go for some solid and really affordable help with this? And we're pretty affordable here. It's free. So we encourage you to share this with anybody who might need that, and just hit subscribe as well so you don't miss another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast. Cody, I would like to jump right in today with you and allow you to just kind of share with our audience something that's been really, really exciting for you. I know that we talked about, I'm pausing because I don't know when we talked about it. Feels like it's been a long time now. But we talked about the ebbs and flows of your business and how there was a time when things just were right? Like you were feeling in the dumps and did not know what to do next. And we have come to a top of a mountain for you, and it's a really significant one. So I'm hoping that you are comfortable sharing all of the juicy details with our audience today.
Yeah, I mean, of course. But yes, if you have been listening to this show every week, which would constitute you being a every weeker, which thank you for that, then you probably remember that whole conversation around the ebbs and the flows. And I think we even talked about it in passing a few times too. But the first quarter of 2025 was really challenging for me, really challenging. It was probably like one of my worst quarters that I had, probably within like the last 2 to 3-ish years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely very challenging, financially, mentally, emotionally, just everything, right? But as we talked about in that episode, I really turned things into high gear and kind of got back into a good flow with things and turned things around in quarter number 2. And I'm actually happy to kind of report that quarter number 2 was so good that it actually was the best quarter that I've ever had, period.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I just got a little bit of a sense of whiplash because it's not even like, hey, we're here to celebrate your best quarter ever. It literally came at the tail end of your worst quarter ever. So
Right.
That's kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah. 2025 has been a weird year for me so far. But, with all of that, I think that it's like kind of good that everything has kind of happened in this way because it kind of resets me. It gives me some perspective on things, and it also gives me like a ton of gratitude on things too. But I wanted to talk about this because I think that I don't want this conversation to be anything to where it's like, I'm boasting about anything, I'm bragging about anything. That's not the intention here. The intention is really just talking about a lesson that kind of comes with this last quarter being the way that it really turned out for me. So I'll be real with like real numbers. I started doing this whiteboard thing, which I know that we've talked about on this show. Now, it was really a while ago. It was probably one of our first episodes. But basically, I have a whiteboard and in my office, and there's like certain things that I kind of like track and or have goals set for. And I do it on a quarterly basis kind of thing. So for example, on this whiteboard, it will have like, little boxes with hearts in it. And those represent new clients. So every time that I get a new client, I fill in that heart and I write their name above it. And that basically just signifies like, hey, this is a person's a person's life or a person's heart that I'm going to be investing myself into, kind of thing. Um, and I have, a certain amount on there that is a goal of how many I want to onboard in this next in a quarter. I also have a little section below that shows like how many consultation calls I have, um, and what I should kind of shoot for in order to get that amount of clients as well. And then I also have like a thermometer thing, right? And the thermometer is like this is how much revenues came in and blah blah blah. And every single quarter, that thermometer, the quote unquote financial goal, for the last, I would say it's been 3 years I've been doing this, maybe 3.5, something like that. It has always been a $50,000 quarterly goal, always, because I've always
Okay.
wanted to have it be. I wanted to say like, hey, like this is a multi six-figure coaching practice, not just a six-figure one, but a multi one. So 50,000 a quarter would bring you to 200,000 a year, and there
Mm-hmm.
you go, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So that was the goal, right? And I've had that be my quarterly goal every quarter for the last 3.5 years, and I have never hit it. Never. I've always, I've gotten close a couple times. I've hit 40, I've hit 42, 43, but I've never actually hit that $50,000 number until this past quarter, and I finally hit it.
That's exciting. Did you get to draw stuff like jumping out of the thermometer for you?
I I should have, but I didn't.
We need a
I
Maria
actually just
Pie,
erased
some
it
of your
and made a
stuff.
new one for the new quarter. But I should have done it, and really like appreciated the moment even more. But I did
That's
appreciate it
right.
overall, but I should have done something like that. Yeah. But
Well, this is really exciting. I know there's going to be some people who are listening and going, man, I'm struggling to get $50,000 in a year. And here
yeah,
this dude is talking about $50,000 in a quarter.
right.
So, one thing I want to just point out is that you had set that goal even when it seemed impossible. When you weren't
Yes,
even doing $50,000 in a year, you set that $50,000 quarterly goal. So could you talk
correct.
about that for just a second for those people who are not where you are yet, but are they have that potential and they want them to hear how you're doing that.
Yeah, and this kind of goes into, there's two layers I want to get into with this whole
Oh,
conversation, which is why I brought it, and this is
great.
one of those layers, right?
Perfect.
So yeah, I set that goal when I wasn't even close to that, not even close. And
Mhm.
my intention with that is like, I think that goals should be unrealistic.
Mhm.
I really think
Mhm.
that they should be until they become realistic, and then you should set new goals that are
Mhm.
then unrealistic again.
Mhm.
Because in my mind, it's like, if you're going after a 200,000 goal, let's just say, likely you're probably not going to hit it, especially if it's an aggressive goal for you at that time. Um, but you have a higher likelihood of eclipsing 100,000. Like if you were starting at 50,000, let's say, and
Mhm.
you set a goal for 200,000, you're more likely to surpass $100,000 when you're pursuing that $200,000 goal, as compared to if you're making 50 and your goal is 100,000, then you
Mhm.
might not hit that 100,000, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of stretching yourself a little bit, right? And
Mhm.
because you're stretching yourself, you basically give yourself permission to say like, hey, I'm capable of doing this, and I'm gonna get as close as I can. But if you take that same mindset and you shrink it and you do the 100,000, well, then you might be able to hit it, maybe, but I don't know how to exactly explain it. Maybe you can help me with this, but I just feel like making the goals bigger allows you to actually have bigger results, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how much help I'm going to be with explaining it, but as you were talking, it's kind of like you're giving yourself permission to fall short of the goal and not
Yes.
have it ruin your whole life.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you fall short of a of a goal that is intentionally larger than what you're actually needing, then it kind of relieves that pressure a little bit. And
Mhm.
okay, I might fall short, but I'm actually going to exceed what I actually want to do. It's kind of like how I use target goal setting, with the no
Yeah,
matter what
yeah,
and the
exactly. Mhm,
bullseye. Yeah. So,
mhm.
what I really like about what you just said though, and I might just start integrating this with the target goal setting, is that I think you used the word capable when you said, I'm going to set this $200,000 goal. And it might be a stretch, but even just putting it down says, I'm capable of having this happen. I might not get it right now. It might not be in the time frame that I had hoped, but it is something I'm capable of doing. And you're just kind of you're writing that out. Like you're putting that you're
Into
making it
existence.
concrete. You're making it concrete and you're
Yep.
saying, here, this is something I'm capable of doing. And so when you do the $100,000, which is what you actually want, and you write that down, you're almost at a subconscious level, second guessing whether or not it's actually something that you're capable of doing. I know
Mhm.
that sounds weird, but that's kind of what came up for me as you were talking.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a big part of it is, like, because even if you were to make, like, a realistic goal, if you fall short of your realistic goal, I feel like just mentally,
Hmm.
you start to take that personally, and you're like, "Well, maybe I'm not actually as good as I thought I am," or, "Maybe I'm not actually capable of doing
Hmm.
this," kinda
Hmm.
thing. Whereas if you set a quote unquote unrealistic goal or aggressive goal that, maybe you feel like you might not actually hit, like you mentioned, it gives you permission to fail. And
Hmm.
when you have that permission to fail, it relieves that pressure. And when you have that pressure relieved, um, it allows you to be in a good flow state. It allows you to try new things. It allows you to, step up in areas that maybe you would have been afraid to before. Um,
Hmm.
and experiment, and when you have that creativity flowing and you're in that kind of flow state, then you never know what's going to happen, kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know
I'm gonna correct one word there, only because I just want to make sure that what I said was clear, but I want to make sure I come back to what you just said. So instead of saying fail, because I don't know if it's permission to fail so much, but
Sure.
it is definitely permission to fall short.
For sure.
And
Yes.
the only reason I'm correcting that is because falling short of that huge goal is not failing. It's actually probably winning more than you would have had you not set one in the first place. So I want to clarify that, but I don't want to lose what you had just said. And so, having said that, I think I just lost what you just said. So, do you remember what you just said right before I went back to that?
Basically what I said was, you know it allows you to be creative and to get
Yes.
into a flow state.
That. Yes, the creativity, there's so much there, and we have to make sure that we don't stifle that. And so, having that cushion, yeah, we know that we might quote unquote fall short of that giant goal, but being able to have that creativity, it releases that pressure of I have to hit this, I have to do this thing. And it's like, you know what? You when you have when you've released that pressure and you have the creativity, it allows you to see different pathways to that thing. And I
Mhm.
think when we limit ourselves to what that goal is, not only are we limiting the result, but we're limiting the ways that we can get there because we're just so laser focused on the thing, if that makes any sense.
Mhm. Yep, yep, exactly. Like I said, it creates that creativity and it allows you to enter a flow state versus
Mhm.
something that you feel like you're constantly, like, trying to measure up to, I guess you could say, you know?
Flow versus forced.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And you know, the other side of this that I wanted to bring this up and talk about too is also so we kind of talked about, the pursuit of the goal, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But let's take a moment here and also talk about that other part that you corrected yourself on, which I'm glad you did say, which is that falling short part of things, right?
Mhm.
Because there might be someone listening to this and they're like, I don't know how I would feel about constantly falling short on my goals. Like, wouldn't that make me less motivated? Wouldn't that make me, wouldn't it make it more challenging for me and all these different types of things, which I think is a good point and a good, argument to be said. Um, but there's something about the word persistence that's really, really powerful if you can really harness that.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of talent out there. And I'm not just talking about like, the financial coaching space, like athletes, doctors. There's talent everywhere, right?
Mhm.
But there's also a lot of talent that doesn't actually come to fruition. Like they don't really take it anywhere. There's a lot of really smart people out there, and there's a lot of people who are smart that again don't take it anywhere, kind of thing. There's a lot of people who have a lot of awesome qualities, but what I have found is that all of those qualities are typically overshadowed by the person who can be persistent. It doesn't matter if you're talented or not. It doesn't matter if you're smart or not. It doesn't matter if you have this gift or the X factor or not. If you're persistent enough for long enough and you just keep going and you keep going and you keep being consistent and persistent and all those sistent words, then eventually you're going to get there, kind of thing. And for me, I mean, like if you do the math, 3 to 3.5 years of quarterly goals, I mean, you're talking about 12 to 15, 12 to 15 falling
Mhm.
shorts before I finally met one, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna tell you, like when you finally get it, it's a mix of like pride and gratitude, but then it also is like, okay, well, I got it, kind of thing. It's almost like when you hear about Olympic athletes, and they put in all this training and all this hard work for years and years and years, and they finally get that gold medal, and they feel like they're on the top of the world, and then the Olympics come to an end, and then they're kind of like lost. They're like,
Mhm.
well,
Now what?
now what, kind of
Mhm.
thing, right? It's a similar feeling in certain ways, but that's why I'm saying like once you hit that unrealistic goal and you actually achieve it through your persistence, make a new unrealistic goal, kind of thing,
Mhm.
to keep like that fire and that motivation going, and more importantly that persistence going.
Okay.
um and I think that that's like the biggest thing that I want to get into and have be like the takeaway from this is that you don't need to be the smartest coach. You don't need to be the most skillful coach. You don't need to be the most outgoing coach. You don't need to be any of that. What you do need to be is just persistent, and you will create that practice and make the impact that you want to for the clients that you serve. It's
Mhm. Mhm.
persistence.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had, and you sort of just alluded to it, so I'm gonna go back and ask it.
Mhm.
What is your new thermometer look like
Hmm.
now?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I thought about continuing it for this year, just
Mhm.
being the 50,
Mhm.
but going into 2026, I thought about just doing 75.
Mhm. Okay. So out of curiosity, and this is truly just a curious question, why wait until the next year to change it to the 75?
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just what kind of feels right. I think because like, that is a good question. I almost feel like it's because I've done it once, and there's a part of me that wants to kind of like prove it to myself that I can do it again, kind of
Mm,
thing. And I
mhm.
also think that like just the sheer fact that this best quarter came up right after the worst quarter
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It almost
Yeah.
feels like, okay, all right, like
It
just
feels like a one-off.
I don't want to say a one-off. It just feels like I should be in this place of like, hey, marinate in this and make it happen again. Make it
Mhm.
happen again. You know, that's just what my
Mhm.
soul's kind of telling me. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I should up it right now. But
The
that's
only
kind of
the
where I'm
only
at.
thing I would say to that is based on everything that you just said about being okay with falling short
Hmm.
of what
Yeah.
it said.
Yep.
Um, Almost like it matter if it shows as 60 or 75, maybe not jumping to 75, maybe just
It's
jumping
true.
to 55 or 60, or just incrementally up. But if you end up falling short of that and you're okay with that, I just wonder if in your mind you're struggling with, knowing what you just said and believing that and then putting that part into action. Because if you had said in quarter one of year
Mhm.
one, I like, what did you get in quarter? What was the highest before that? Let's just go with that. 40, I think you
So
mentioned like 42, 48, something
before
like that.
before I answer that,
Okay.
I think that this is where my head's at because I'm looking at it in two different layers. So there's the quarterly, which I did accomplish one
Hmm.
time,
And the annual is what you're
but then
looking
there's
at.
the annual, which I have
Okay.
not. I have still am a little bit short of that. I think my best year was 2 years ago, and
Hmm.
I had generated like 173, and then last year was like 167 kind of thing. So I still have a good chunk there, to
Hmm.
like make
Hmm.
up, and I think that that's probably the reason why. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. But to that point, though, wouldn't, since you had such a bad, I say bad, I'm doing that tongue in cheek. You had such a rough first quarter. Um,
sure.
in terms of a $200,000 year,
Mhm.
wouldn't you almost need to have a higher than $50,000 quarter over the next couple in order to make up for that, to average that out?
I would.
So that's another thing to consider then
It is
is,
another thing to consider. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should just erase it. I made it today actually. I was a little bit behind the game.
oh,
Um, but maybe I should just erase it and
I
just
mean, if
reset
it's
it.
just
I think that's what I'm
if
gonna
that's
do.
all it is,
You
like,
talked
I
me
didn't know if
into
you
it.
printed it out and, but if you literally just wrote it on the board.
Yeah, yeah, you talked me into it. I'm gonna do that.
What's funny, you guys, for anyone who's just listening, which is I think the majority of our audience, it's funny to watch Cody, like he's literally looking at the whiteboard as we talk.
Mhm.
like,
I am.
like, hey, maybe I should erase that. His head comes back here. Whatever you decide to do, you have my support 100%. I just thought it was very interesting that you got that goal and then did not, make it a little bit higher,
Mhm.
because I do believe that you absolutely are capable of that. And I also know that if you fall short, it doesn't mean anything except that you fell short of a goal that was pretty out there anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
Well, this has been really fun. We love celebrating with you. I mean, I remember you actually texted me when this happened, and it was just such a milestone for you. And I love that we're able to celebrate those milestones with you, not just me, but also our audience, and know that you are setting an example for people who want to do this full time and who say, is it even possible? And we can point to you and say, absolutely, it's possible. It's
Mhm.
something, and it's not just possible for some of the companies that have, several coaches who are on board, or who have a bunch of people who they've hired. You literally are a solopreneur. I mean, you might have help here and there with a couple things, but I don't even think you've hired anybody, right? As far as
No.
I know. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So that's why it really is something that I want our audience to hear and recognize that it's not for everybody. Not everybody has what, the time, or the situation, or the grit, whatever it is. Not everybody has that entire makeup to do a $200,000 a year. That's okay. You recognize that it is something that can be done full time, and you are showing people that that is a possibility. And I just think that even if their circumstances are such that it's a $60,000 a year for them, maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
maybe that's all that they really need, and they're content with that. But you have shown us that if you put in the time and you put in the persistence and you're consistent with that, that yes, it will come. But the other thing I want to just point out, another word, right? Like the ins word. We have
Hmm.
persistence, we have the consistency, but we also have patience. And I just wanted to throw that out there too, because as you heard Cody talk about this, he did mention that this was at least a 2.5, 3 year process so far. And some people, this might be more like a 7 to 10 year process. We have to be patient, not just with ourselves, but with circumstances as well. And it doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook all the time and giving yourself excuses. It just means that you have to recognize time is different for everybody, and we just need to be patient.
Hmm. Yep. I completely agree. There's something called aggressive patience.
Mm.
And
I don't know that I've ever heard that term.
I talk about this a lot with my clients actually. But basically it's a two-parted thing to where, you have the patient side of things, which is basically looking at things in a broader sense and being like, hey, whenever I do reach this goal, accomplish this goal, it doesn't matter. Like, I know it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's more so a matter of when. And whenever that does happen, I'm totally okay with that. So like if I hit this goal next month, great. If I hit it this year, great. If it takes me 5 years, great. It doesn't matter. Like, it's gonna happen, and I'm okay with whenever it does happen, kind of thing. And that's the patient side of things. But then the aggressive side of things is shrinking the focus and not thinking about it in terms of how long this is going to take, or in terms of years or months or even weeks, but more so just focusing in on like one day at a time, and
Mhm.
just being like, okay, so what do I need to do today to consider today to be a win, to move the needle just a little bit more to accomplishing that ultimate goal, not to accomplish it totally today,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
just that one or two things to move the needle just a little bit more. And every day you do that and you focus on that one thing, you're like, I'm just going to win today. I'm going to win today. I'm going to win today. Until one day you look up and all of those little wins started to stack on top of each other. And then it became that big win. And you
Mhm.
actually accomplish that ultimate goal. And that's the idea of aggressive patience. So that's a big part of what it took in order to make this happen, and what it's also going to take in order for the next one to happen too. But to your point that you said earlier, I want to also just reiterate what I said at the beginning of this episode, which is it doesn't matter if you're trying to go after $100,000 goal, a 200,000, a 300,000, or even a 40 or $30,000 goal. It doesn't matter where you're at, in your practice or even the journey of your financial coaching. What matters is that you are stretching that comfort zone, which we've talked about many times, and you basically allow yourself to be capable of being wildly successful with this. And that's the point, you know?
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter where you're at, but I would encourage you to, if you had a goal that you set at the beginning of this year that was realistic, quote unquote, I would encourage you to go back to it and reassess it and make it a little bit unrealistic and see what happens.
Mhm. Even though you're more than halfway through the year,
Mhm.
we're giving you permission to have a new year goal setting opportunity halfway through the year. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
isn't it funny what happens when we actually just give ourselves permission to do things that are out of the norm?
Yeah,
Like,
strange.
wait, aren't I supposed to wait until January to do this? Nope. It might be August, y'all, but it's time. Just go ahead and reassess right
Yeah.
now. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cody, for always for your transparency. I love the real numbers. I love that we're able to just kind of chat through this for real, through it, like in real time. If anybody has any questions about that, like what your board looks like or anything like that, where can they request that from you?
Well, I would say the number one way to get in contact with me or us or whatever is probably through our Facebook group. So, you can, if you're a member of that already, great, make a post asking about that, or you could even, shoot us a direct message. It doesn't matter. If you're not a member of it, then you should definitely be a member of it. And you can just search up on Facebook, the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. Free to join, really good community there. So yeah, if you have questions, just pop it in there.
Sounds wonderful. Thanks again. And thank you to each and every one of you listeners today. We hope that you have gotten a little bit of inspiration and had a chance to celebrate with us. And we hope that we see you next week on the Financial Coaches Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.